Welcome back to Packs and Picks. Today I'm going over the first sealed pool I made for the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Now I did participate in a pre-release, so this isn't technically the very first sealed deck I built in the format, but this time around I didn't have an awesome promo, so I'm calling it the first sealed deck I built. Like usual, over the last few days I posted some shorts going over every card in my pool, so I won't be going into detail on every card here, but I will point out anything that I found notable or exciting. So let's see the deck that I ended up in. It is a red-blue deck, and we've got 2 mythics in the pool and 2 mythics in the deck as a result. We've got Saheeli, and we also have O'Hare Pakpatik. Those are our big flashy cards in the pool. So the first one here, O'Hare Pakpatik. So this guy cares about instant spells particularly, not just instants and sorceries. And the unfortunate thing is I looked through the pool trying to figure out what to build around. There just really weren't a lot of instants overall in this pool. I could see this being a great card to draft around if you were drafting, but right now it just is like going to be a great 4/3 flyer that can come back after a few turns for me. I'm really hoping that this is kind of a lightning rod though for my opponents, that maybe they target it with some removal, thinking that it's going to be a little more dangerous than it actually is for me. We do have a couple instants we might get that rebound effect in the deck, but really this is just a 4/3 flyer for me in this deck. The other card though that I am really excited about in the deck is Saheeli. So it's a 2/2 for 2. And when I first read this, I thought I was going to have to build around her, like put a lot of artifacts or something special, but when I reread the card, it's just she copies another creature that I control. So really just putting good creatures in the deck, or creatures with interesting abilities or on dice triggers, things like that, are going to be awesome with Saheeli, and that's probably why she's a mythic. So she's in the deck, and as we go through the deck, I'll kind of point out some of the things that I noticed that'll be good if she's good for us if she's on the battlefield with those creatures. The first of which is going to be Dig Site Conservator. So this creature here, just a 2-mana 2/1. I put this in just because there seem to be a lot of cards and decks that care about Descend. So being able to sacrifice this and exile some of those cards from someone's graveyard and turn off their Descend, I think is going to be a good reason to put this in the deck, kind of like a toolbox card. It also has an interesting synergy with Saheeli. So if this is on the battlefield and we copy it with Saheeli, it's going to die at the end of the turn and trigger that Discover 4 ability if we pay for it. So potentially late in the game, we might have the ability to get repeated Discover triggers with Saheeli and Dig Site Conservator. So nice little combo there. Another thing might be hard to see here, but the deck overall is kind of creature light. I think there's maybe 11 or 12 creatures in the deck, and one of the ways that I'm going to try to combat that downside, I put 2 copies of Ancestor's Aid in the deck. So this is just a run-of-the-mill combat trick, giving a creature first strike, but I'm hoping that this helps us trade up or at least win some of those early combats, keep us alive in the game. That treasure token, I think, also will help us get to some of our more expensive spells at the top end of the curve. Some of those expensive spells are, we've got 2 of the vanilla land cycling dinosaurs, so Seismic Monstersaur and Marauding Brinefang. So these are here because they're going to help us with our mana fixing, but I do hope that we're actually able to cast these and use these to take over in the late game, because we don't have a ton of huge powerful creatures at the top end of the curve to close out games. So while they're going to help us with land fixing, I do hope we actually do get to cast at least one of these to win a game or 2. All right, one of the other neat cards in the pool, one of our rares, Poetic Ingenuity. This is one also that the more I read it, there's just some really interesting things that can happen. So we don't have a lot of dinosaurs to trigger that first ability, but we do have a lot of artifacts in the pool, and that's going to help give us more creatures to help support us with knowing that we have a creature light deck. So I think this card is going to help us just build out our board a little bit more and protect us as the game goes on with more bodies on the ground. There's also a couple nice little combos. So this, like I said, when you cast an artifact, you get a dinosaur. One of the artifacts we do have in our deck is the Belligerent. So 4-mana vehicle, and it just so happens when you play this, you make a 3-power creature with Poetic Ingenuity that could then accrue the Belligerent on a subsequent turn. So a nice little combo there. Also, with a card like Saheeli, we can use Saheeli's ability to copy a 3-power creature and then use that creature to crew the belligerent and then still attack with the original creature. So there's a little bit of synergy there with Saheeli and the belligerent that might be nice in the game. All right, now I didn't really have a ton of playables or enough playables in blue and red alone, so I did want to do a little bit of a splash. I got kind of aggressive on the black splash that I ended up with for a few reasons. One, we had 2 really good removal spells in a black splash, so we've got Molten Collapse. This is another one of the rares in the pool. And then we also had Bitter Triumph as well. So 2 good removal spells in black. And then also, knowing that I needed, or I wanted, kind of a bigger creature at the top end, a big scary creature, we had Uchbenbach in the pool as well. So a 6/4 Vigilance Menace. So that's another reason that I wanted to splash black. Now I've got some things to help with that. I do have a Scampering Surveyor that can help us dig out a swamp from our deck. We also have a Promising Vein. And then we've seen already a few ways that our deck can make some treasures. So I think between those 3 cards or 2 cards and all the treasure making cards, we do have a good chance of staying on curve and hitting our black mana in order to cast some of those splashes. So that's the red-blue version of the deck. What are some things, the other options in the pool? Well, some noticeable things that I did skip over just because they weren't quite what I was looking for. In green, we did have some of the Explore options. So we did have a copy of Twist and Turns, and then we also had a Lodestone Needle in blue. So I do think there's a chance that you could take this sealed pool and make a blue-green deck using Lodestone Needle, Twist and Turns, and some of the Explorer cards in green. There also were a few more green instants that you might want to try to combo off with O'Hare Pakpatik. So Disturb Slumber, Staggering Size, Watley's Final Strike. We did have Intrepid Paleontologist, which I think in other decks would be pretty great, but we just didn't have very many dinosaurs for us to really utilize her special ability too much. So that's why I steered away from green this time. And then white also didn't have too much going on, but I did like this kind of synergy here between Clay-Fired Bricks and the Envoy of Okaneka How. So on the flip side of Clay-Fired Bricks, you get this Anthem effect where your creatures get +1/+1, and then the Envoy can make 1/1s for 5 mana. So, you know, if you get both of these out on the battlefield, you're making 2/2s every turn, which is pretty nice. So that was in white, one notable thing there. But that's the deck, red and blue this time around with a little bit of a black splash. As always, thank you so much for watching. This was a little bit of a tricky pool, so let me know in the comments what direction you would have taken the deck. Do you like the look of green-blue or green-white, or putting the white in there somewhere? Let me know down below. And come back soon, as another sealed deck for Lost Caverns of Ixalan is right around the corner. I'll see you next time.